this video, we will discuss Newton's laws of motion. Who is Isaac Newton? Isaac Newton is an English physicist and mathematician. Newton's Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy was one of the most important single works in the history of modern science. He discovered the three laws of motion. With the discovery of his three laws of motion and the basic principles of modern physics, it resulted in the formulation of the law of universal gravitation. First law, law of inertia. An object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted by an unbalanced force. We have the following example for the application of law of inertia. As you can see from the video, the soccer ball is at rest and the soccer player is moving towards the ball. The unbalanced force applied was when the soccer player kicks the ball. As a result, the ball moved from one place to another with same speed and same direction. Take note that objects with greater mass have more inertia since it takes more force to change their motion.
Newton's second law of motion states that force is equal to the change in momentum of an object per change in time. This tells us that the heavier an object is, the larger the force required to move the object. It is better to know that a force will cause a change in velocity, and a change in velocity will generate a force. This is given by the formula force equals mass multiplied by acceleration. For example, it is much more difficult to lift one sack of rice grains than lifting a kilo of rice grains. This is what the second law of motion means. We need to exert more force to lift a sack of rice grains since it is much heavier than that of a kilo of rice grains.
We will apply the formula of the second law of motion in a word problem. A net force of 15 Newton is exerted on a mathematics book to cause it to accelerate at a rate of 2 meters per second squared. Determine the mass of the mathematics book. The given are force is equals to 15 newtons and acceleration is equals to 2 meters per second squared. After identifying the given, we will substitute it to the formula. Substituting it to the formula will give us a mass of 7.5 kilograms. Determine the accelerations that result when a 20 Newton net force is applied to a 4 kilogram object. Since we are given a force of 20 newtons and a mass of 4 kilograms, we will substitute it to the formula. Thus, substituting it to the formula will give us an acceleration of 5 meters per second squared. Determine the net force of 15 kilogram bowling ball that accelerates at a rate of 4 meters per second squared. Since we are given a mass of 15 kilograms and an acceleration of 4 meters per second squared, we will substitute it to the formula. Substituting it to the formula will give us a force of 60 newtons.
Newton's third law of motion states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This means that when object A exerts a force on object B, then object B also exerts the same force on A. For example, when we sit on a chair, we are exerting a downward force on it. The chair carries our weight by exerting the same amount of force, but the direction is upward. In a similar manner, the chair we are sitting exerts a downward force on the ground, and the ground exerts the same force on the chair, but the direction is upward.
Let's discuss shortly Newton's law of universal gravitation. According to Newton, all objects attract each other with the force of gravitational attraction. That is, gravitation is universal. Force of gravitational attraction is directly dependent upon the masses of both objects and inversely proportional to the square of the distance that separates their centers. The statement can be represented by trivia. Legend says that Sir Isaac Newton discovered gravity when he saw a falling apple while thinking about the forces of nature.